1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning. It's Andy Brownell, News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM. And, of course, Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE Max results on this Saturday morning. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning, Andy. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. I thought for sure you were going to tell me that you went down to the Field of Dreams. And I
my gosh.
I would have been so jealous.
I honestly wanted to so bad. And I found a website where you could actually sign up if you want to be notified about tickets that come available. And I got an email one day saying, we have 4 tickets available. And I got so excited. And I read the email for $36,000. I could have bought 4 tickets to the Field of Dreams.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
Maybe next year's game or the year after. But yeah, it was so cool.
I think that I heard during the broadcast that it was the average price ended up being somewhere north of $3,000 per ticket. And that includes the people who got it through the lottery fairly cheap.
Yeah, because of those high-end ones driving it up. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, good for the people who got to go at an affordable price because what an experience. Oh. And I wonder what that's going to do to the price of real estate in Dyersville, Iowa.
Yeah, exactly. I had the same thought. And part of it was when they showed the shots of the beautiful sunset, the wonderful Midwestern sunset. And I
seriously?
Thought of all these people living in Chicago and New York who are surrounded by tall buildings who don't get to see that.
Oh, my gosh. It's so funny because, once you have that, realtor mindset, you can't get out of it. And as I'm watching these players come through the cornfields, I'm thinking, wow, these guys who have lived in New York are thinking, this is real. This is crazy. Such a different experience. And really, could there have been? It's like we could not have had a more perfect night for that game. No humidity, perfect temperature, gorgeous sunset. People are probably thinking, this is where a person should live. It's is this heaven? Yeah. Right?
But don't ask about a couple nights before when they had the severe storms roar through there.
Exactly. They lucked out.
All right. We have a potpourri of reports to cycle through here regarding real estate. Maybe start out with the I saw it was on the Associated Press about it was for the second quarter nationwide. The prices everywhere have gone up
everywhere. And so I think I talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago that as far as our market, Rochester and surrounding market, we were up 15.5% year over year, which isn't bad compared to nationwide where prices rose 22.9% to an average median price of $357.9. So we're still, better than that.
And that's nationwide.
Nationwide.
So you have homes in some parts of the country are selling for way below that, but that means you also have homes selling for way, way up there, too.
I found something really interesting. So this data came from the National Association, and there were I don't know how many metros, 182 that they were following. And of them, 181 increased, and one of them dropped by 6.9%. And I found it ironic because it was Springfield, Illinois. Oh. And my brother used to live there, and he packed up and moved to Florida. And he said, I cannot wait to get out of here. The economy in Springfield is so bad. He said there are just no jobs, and the government is running things into the ground here, and it's just a dead and dying place. And I thought, oh, you're clearly exaggerating because you want to get to Florida where it's nice and sunny and warm. But he clearly, I guess, wasn't, because in Springfield, Illinois, the prices dropped by 6.9%.
Isn't Springfield the birthplace of Abe Lincoln?
It is.
They have a big tourist thing that goes on there. Oh.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's a cool thing. And the Abraham Lincoln Museum is really awesome. We went and visited that the last time we went to see.
But obviously not enough to support the entire economy.
Not enough to support the entire economy.
Wow.
No.
That is amazing, though, that of a list of that many markets, there was only one that had everything else had gone up, and some of them. I'll come across that article, but some of them had gone up by, oh my gosh, and I mean a lot. 45% someplace. So anybody who's thinking that it's really kind of a tough market for buyers in the Rochester area, We're
We've got
actually
it
in
made.
pretty good shape.
We've got it made, yes. We've got it made. But, you know, the fact of the matter is we do get questions every day. You know, what is the market doing? It seems like things aren't flying off the shelves anymore. You know, have we missed it? Has the market cooled down? Has the bubble burst? You know, blah, blah, blah. And the fact of the matter is, I think I read one of the economists from the National Association of Realtors said, we've gone from a steamy hot market to a hot market.
Okay, well, that seems like yeah.
It's not as crazy, but it's still fantastic. You know, I mean, it's like we've said this over and over, Andy. These sellers who have to wait 30 days to sell their house feel like they're devastated.
Which 2 or 3 years ago was under average.
Right. If you sold your house in 30 days, maybe 3 years ago, you were probably like jumping up and down, probably taking out an ad in the paper to brag about that, you know, because that was a really big deal. But now it's like, oh my gosh.
But it's the same story, isn't it? We still have a dramatic shortage of inventory.
We do.
And we have ultra low interest rates.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are more and more listings coming on the market, which is great. And actually, here, I have an article right here. It was written Thursday, August 12th, and it was in the National Associations of Realtor magazine, okay? And the title of the article was Rise in Affordable Listings Gives First-Timers Hope.
Okay.
All right, so it does say that the feverish pace of home sales is beginning to follow historical seasonal patterns, while new listings grew at an unusually high rate for the summer months, further helping the inventory crunch. So there are some markets, more than half of the nation's 50 largest metros posted double-digit gains in new listings. So Columbus, Ohio was up 42.9%. Now, keep in mind, up 42.9%, but they had not that many listings.
So that's from a year ago, right?
Right.
Okay.
But if you only have 50 listings, 42.9% isn't, you know, so what, you get another 21 listings or whatever, which is, you know, it's 21 listings, but it's not
right.
like we're talking hundreds and hundreds more listings. So you got to keep that in mind. Baltimore was up 36.9%. Cleveland up 35.8%, Milwaukee 34.3%, Richmond, Virginia up 30%, but the largest increases occurred in new listings occurred in the Midwest. Even though the Midwest was only up 19.8%, we had more listings than everybody else had to start with. So our shortage isn't anything close to what other people's shortages are.
So all right. There you go. And anecdotally, in my little neck of the woods, my little neighborhood, I've seen, I think, 4 new listings in the past week.
Yep.
Houses have gone up.
Yep, definitely. And this is the real. I guess this is the truth right here. This report notes that new listings still remain below a typical 2017, 2018, 2019 market. Actually down 9.5%.
Okay.
But because sellers are starting to enter the market, you know, it does feel like, oh, like you just said, 4 new ones in my neighborhood. Well, a couple of years ago, if you saw 4 new houses come on your market 1 week in the summer, you'd be like, oh, 4 new houses, nothing of it, you know.
Right,
but because we haven't seen it as much, that's the deal. So,
interesting. Well, I wonder if this will result in people looking to the Midwest to relocate.
Well, I mean, after watching that baseball game, they're all going to want to live in Iowa and probably some in Minnesota. But yeah, no, I think so, you know. Now, another article that caught my attention because I was, you know, we have a lot of small towns around us. The title of this article was called Small Town Home Prices Rival Those in Big Cities. And I thought, how can that be? Well, it started out by talking about small towns being populations between 10,000 and 50,000. I'm like, okay, that's not our idea of a small town.
Medium cities there.
Yeah, those are pretty good-sized cities if you live in Minnesota. But anyway, there were some small towns that the prices in their towns rival nearby large cities. Well, okay, if you're comparing Vineyard Haven, Massachusetts, where the median value is $699, and then they say, well, that tops Los Angeles, where the median home value is $613, or Breckenridge, Colorado, has home prices that rival those of San Diego. $579.6 is the average in Breckenridge.
Well, it's Breckenridge.
But it's Breckenridge. and then they talk about Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Well, okay, so these are all places that the rich and the famous come and buy vacation homes.
Sure.
But what happens is these types of buyers drive up those home prices and then make housing difficult to afford for the locals who are not those high-income earners.
That was already happening like 2 or 3 years ago, the last time I was in Colorado.
Yes. Oh, gosh, yes. And then,
there were people living in tent cities who were the seasonal workers.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That is so crazy. And you're right. That was happening pre-COVID.
But now this has exaggerated it even more.
Well, because so many people did so well on the stock market that it just put them in such a good, equity position and wealth position that if they've always wanted that vacation home in Breckenridge, that was the time to go get it.
They had to bid for it, so there you go.
They had to fight for it, and they paid plenty, but then again, they were cash buyers, right? And the cash buyers were taking over.
I just love that headline, though. That was...
Yeah, it's a little deceiving.
A little misleading.
Just a little I'm like, oh my gosh, you mean to tell me houses in Wabasha are going to be as expensive as houses in Rochester? Nah, it wasn't anything like that.
Okay. Well, we have to take a break. We'll come back and chat some more with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group-RE results here on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Welcome back to Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. Andy Brownell and Robin Gwaltney here on this Saturday morning. So the bidding wars, you mentioned Breckenridge and Jackson Hole with the really expensive homes, but the bidding wars are still going on, right? I mean, we're still seeing multiple offers.
We are seeing multiple offers, and I will tell you that I've actually had some buyers get lucky, and as long as they've come in with a really good offer, not have to get into a bidding war, or maybe just up against one other offer, or maybe two other offers. So it is getting easier and easier for the buyers, no doubt about it. But I don't want people to misinterpret that and think that means, that means prices are going to start going down, the market's really cooling off. No, it's not that. It's just that some buyers have gotten tired and gotten out. They've just given up. And other buyers have hung on and stuck around. And then there are more and more sellers that are saying, okay, now's the time I'm going to get my house out there. So it's just getting to be a little more favorable, but still a fantastic time to be a seller. You're still going to get a really good price for your house. It's still going to sell really quickly. But at least buyers are not as depressed about the situation as they were just even a few months ago.
But isn't it also, Robin, the asking price of the home now more closely matches the selling price?
Yes,
so that
absolutely.
You don't have to have that bid $10,000, $20,000 over because it's already priced into the house.
So I guess one way I could sum it up is we're getting back to somewhat of a resemblance of a normal market.
Well, that's good news then.
It's in the future. I mean, we can see it off on the horizon for sure. It is good news. It's good news for everybody.
And then, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, the people that aren't getting into homes are the ones that have got exhausted, and they are stepping aside and saying, we're just going to rent for another year or two. Well, guess what that has done to the rental market?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so I actually found an article titled "Bidding Wars Erupt for Renters as the Economy Recovers in a Hot Housing Market." Yes. And isn't that just crazy?
Yes, it sounds insane.
And especially knowing that to offset some of the losses that some of these landlords have suffered from the COVID eviction moratorium, they're actually raising rents. Okay, so rents are higher, but there are still people fighting for rentals, and they're seeing things like the people who are looking to rent are much like higher credit scores, higher income, so it's kind of changing the demographic of who is out there renting. So some of these landlords are actually seeing people fighting for the rental, and when they're filling out the application, they're actually adding verbiage about we're willing to pay $200 a month more than you were asking. So literally, bidding wars. Yeah, in July, rents rose nationally 7% year over year for a one-bedroom apartment and 8.7% for a two-bedroom apartment. But people are still fighting to get into those. So yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I'm trying to understand this. We're seeing a huge increase in population. Is it? Or are these rental homes? Are these
no, one-bedroom apartments, two-bedroom apartments,
wow.
And there is a need for single family. So one of the things that I have heard over and over is that apartments. Well, some people stayed and just stopped paying, unfortunately. But some people said, okay, I'm getting out of here, getting out of my lease, moving back to my parents or moving in with, moving other places. But now that they're being called back to work or they've gotten a new job, or so they're starting back all over again, getting out and on their own. So some of that's going on, too.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. And they're coming into a situation where they've got a bunch of cash because they've been saving money by not being in the market.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, actually, here's actually a real quote from a Vipian Motwani, managing principal with Iron Gate Development. He says the rental applications that we're getting right now, we are seeing higher credit scores. We are seeing applicants willing to put down more in terms of security deposits. We're seeing strong rental history as well, and that wasn't necessarily the case pre-COVID. So
a landlord's dream.
A landlord's dream.
That's for sure.
Well, I think they've kind of gone through a landlord's nightmare, a lot of them, with the COVID thing. So yeah, absolutely.
Are we seeing that? Have you seen any evidence of that happening around here?
I've not, and I'm not as, I'm definitely not the pro on the rental market.
Sure.
So, I mean, from what I know, I think people are still renting and occupancy is still really good. I've not heard of anybody have to get into a bidding war to get a unit. I think Rochester has, you've seen a lot of apartments go up in the last few years, right? So I think we have been on the ball and kind of predicted what the future needs are. And I think we have a sufficient amount of rental units available that people are probably not having to get in a bidding war. But now that's not based on any facts or data. That's just what I think.
Yep. And I saw the census data that came out at the end of the week showed Olmsted County grew I think it was about 13%.
Wow.
Since the previous census. So overall, we've seen a significant rise in the number of people who live here. So that explains a lot of the apartment building construction.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw that, and this is the one I was going to ask you about because you might know. They said the fastest growing community in the entire country is the Villages in Florida.
That's so funny.
Isn't that senior living community?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a little side note. A couple of years ago, I think one of my articles on this show was that the highest number of STDs was in the Villages in Florida. So that's what made me laugh out loud.
So I guess some folks who moved down there.
Yeah, better warn them. It's just kind of funny because I think what it is there is a lot of baby boomers, right? I mean, we're at that point in time where a lot of people are saying, you know what, I'm going to go, and if I'm going to have to go live somewhere, I'm not ready to be in a nursing home setting or even an assisted living setting. I just want to live in a fun, and you know what I'm saying. But
That's not too much fun.
Yeah, not too much fun, but just a fun 55 and over community where there's other people that are very much alive and very active and out and about. And I think it has become a really super popular place. I think I know 3 or 4 people personally that have moved from here and live there. So
that kind of goes along with sometime in the past year we talked about planned communities. That's what this is.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
If you live in the villages, you never have to leave. I mean, they've got everything you need right there.
All right, we have to take a quick break. Robin Gwaltney with Gwaltney Group-RE results with us, and we'll be back on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Starting a job at McDonald's starts with a flexible schedule that fits your life now. We'll also get you started with in-depth training and help you build skills to start growing your career. And if you're starting to think about the future, you can even get a head start with benefits like college tuition assistance and free career advising. Starting to feel interested? Start your application today at careers.mcdonalds.com. Jobs you apply for may be in a restaurant owned by a franchisee. Not McDonald's. Franchisees are responsible for employment at their restaurants.
Welcome back to Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group-RE Results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. Good morning. Robin, you mentioned just a moment ago that you were seeing signs that we're getting closer to returning to a more normal market. Does that mean that people are going to have to go back to actually preparing their houses to be sold?
It's a good point.
Doing the little things like painting and getting carpets and things like that.
And you know what? I think that that is such a good point, because it's always been smart to have your house look its very best to go on the market so that you can get, the fastest sale, the most money. Well, we went through a phase where people could have cared less if you had it piled high with bags of garbage. They would have bought it and taken care of it because there was just nothing else out there. So when I say that some sort of normal market is back on the horizon, I do think that people are. I mean, I've been showing a lot of houses lately, and I get in and they look awesome. They're staged beautifully. They're very well appointed. They're clean, fresh coats of paint, and I think that it's really smart. And so there are still things that sellers should do, but I don't want people to go crazy. I don't want people doing complete renos. I don't want people, doing some of the things that I would have suggested 5 or 6 years ago. So I think it's still really important to, call me, or if you have an agent that you have a relationship with, call them. Make sure that you're getting some professional advice about what things you should do to put your house on the market and what things you should just leave for the next owner. Okay?
So it's
really
still a
important.
seller's market.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so this was the article that I absolutely wanted to have time to get to, because it is really fun. It says, are houses less affordable than they were in past decades? Okay, so people are like, what? My dad would say...
Of course they are.
But he'd say, of course they are more affordable? No. I mean, he would say... Yeah. He would say, are you kidding me? My house payment was only $300. Now people are paying $3,000. Okay, but then we have to think about... So is the price of bread, a gallon of milk, a gallon of gas. I mean, that's called inflation, right? Everything has gone up.
And pay has gone up.
And pay has gone up. So there's this fun little chart that I found that shows, converting back then prices to today's prices, factoring in inflation. And this is fun. Okay. So in 1975, you could borrow $35,000 at 8.89% interest, and your payment would be $280.
Yep.
Okay.
That sounds right on the money for 75. You could have bought a house for $30,000 easily here.
And that seems so cheap. But you know what that equates to in today's wages and today's prices? That equates to $1,414.
Wow.
So it wasn't that cheap to buy a house then. I mean, it was a big chunk of your income. It was still, it was still a big deal. It
was what everybody wanted to do as well.
Right. And so then move 5 years forward, in 1980, you could get a mortgage for $57,600 at 12.71%, and your payment has gone up to $624. So your payment has more than doubled in 5 years from 75, and that payment of $624 back then would be the same as $2,058.
Oh my gosh!
Today, okay. So let's talk about today. Today, you could buy a house, get a mortgage for $337,410 at 2.7% interest, and your house payment is going to be $1,381. Okay?
That is amazing.
So now I'm just going to read over these really quick. So in 1975, that house payment on $35,000 was equal to $1,414 today. So that was more expensive.
That's roughly the house that you were talking about, though.
Yep,
Pretty close.
Yep. In 1980, that same mortgage of $57,600 at $624 was equal to $2,058 today. So way more expensive, right?
What could I get for $2,000 a month today?
A lot more. That's for darn sure. A lot more.
Because that 1980 house was probably a split with a detached garage.
Well, you know, I can tell you, like, that whole DeWitt's development over in Cimarron, I think those were like $75,000 when they were first built, something like that.
That was early 80s.
Yeah, and so in 1985, a $75,000 house, your payment was only $798 then, but that's equivalent to $2,002 today. So this went through 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 2000, 2005, 10, 15, 20, and there were only 2 years in all those decades where you could actually, it was actually more affordable, right? So in 2010, if you borrowed $197 at 4.7%, your house payment was $1,282. And that's because we just were coming out of a housing crash, right?
Yes, exactly.
So that was like just a special circumstance. And then last year in 2020, when you could get something for $290 at 3.16%, your house payment was $1,311. Okay, so prices have gone up.
Right.
But interest rates have gone down, so now it's $1,381. So you feel like, oh, my friends who bought last year did so much better. Not that much better.
But you're doing way better than mom and dad.
Thank you. So the truth of the fact, I mean, it really says, bottom line here, if you want to buy a home, don't let the headlines about affordability discourage you, because you maybe can't get the deal that your friend got last year, but you're getting a much better deal than your parents did 20 years ago or your grandparents did 40 years ago. So that's all about keeping it in perspective. Yeah. It's a fantastic time to buy a house. There's no doubt about it.
And that $350,000 house is a great deal.
Absolutely.
You're getting more house as well when compared to what you were buying in 75.
Absolutely. And it's no different than, you know, the portion of your income that you're spending on housing. I always tell, especially young buyers, let's not focus so much on the price of the house, because literally the chances of the fact that you're going to live here and pay off that 30-year mortgage are pretty slim. The average home buyer stays in their house 5 to 7 years. So let's look at what it's going to take you to get into the house, what your payments are going to be each month, how does that fit your budget, and what kind of position will you be in when it comes time to sell the house. And those are the things that really matter. Okay. So that's where it's really important to have good guidance.
And that's the thing I want folks to call you about. So if you're hearing this and you want to talk about how this is going to be for you individually to buy or sell your home, how do you get a hold of Robin Gwaltney?
Absolutely. Would love to help. Just feel free to call me on my cell phone, 507-259-4926, and I will take your call. If I'm on another call, I'll call you back.
All right, Robin, we'll chat next week. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
All right, that's Robin Gwaltney. Gwaltney Group-RE results here on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Everyone loves shopping online. Well, I'm going to tell you what I tell my golf buddies when they buy clubs. Stop searching for coupon codes. Download Capital One Shopping to your computer. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. Plus, it's free, and you don't even need a Capital One card to use it. That's like hitting a hole-in-one without even trying. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
Savings and available